Um, I would like to start by explaining why the synagogue is so important. It is so important because this is, at the moment, the only synagogue in the entire Galilee that is dated to the 1st century CE. And I mean that this is the only synagogue that is dated to the time of Jesus. There are several remains of other synagogues in the Galilee, but we are not sure concerning their dating, and for sure this is the best preserved synagogue from the time of Jesus in the entire Galilee. The synagogue has its mosaic pavement, frescoes, and in the middle of the synagogue stood this stone that is important because it's a three-dimensional model of the temple in Jerusalem. The temple of the late Second Temple period, the temple built by Herod. And we can see that not only the architecture of the temple, but also all the sacred utensils, all the sacred objects that stood in the temple. The altar of sacrifices, the seven-branch menorah, which is the Jewish symbol par excellence, flanked by two big vases, probably one for water, the other one for wine or for oil, and above we can see the showbread table, another sacred object that stood within the sanctuary, and we see the veil with its rosette, the columns with palm branches, and behind we can see the Holy of Holies with the two wheels of the chariot of the cherubim, which is considered to be the throne of God, which shows that God is present in the temple, but also in heaven, because just the lower portion of the throne of God is in the temple, but the rest is in the sky. And the stone was used as a kind of a podium on which the Torah scrolls were laid during the reading of the Torah. And the ritual was like that. They took the Torah scroll from a side room. Later on our fan will show it to you. And they placed the scroll on top of the stone. So we have here a combination of the temple and the Torah scroll, and this gives us an indication how things work at the time of Jesus, because we often can read in the New Testament that Jesus visited the synagogues in Galilee, read Torah, gave speeches, and all of a sudden we have a synagogue that shows us how those things work at that time. And it shows us that the communities in Galilee at that time that had sentiments towards the temple in Jerusalem, but on the other end, something new started to emerge. And this new thing is very important. The temple, the model of the temple, stood at the center, and the community surrounded it. They sat on those benches surrounding the stone, and the community, in certain respects, replaced the courts in the Temple of Jerusalem. And the community became a kind of a temple. The temple is not just a building, but the community that practiced a certain ritual that is a temple. And we have here a new idea in the history of religion, of a community as a kind of a temple, and we don't have here blood sacrifices, but we have something else. Reading, learning, something more spiritual. It is not against the temple. The temple in Jerusalem is the center of the world. But we can see that Judaism at that time started to develop a new idea of a way to work God. And this is a kernel, this is a core that is common to the Jewish way of thinking and also to the way of thinking of Christianity. And this is the main things that makes this stone so important. It gives us an indication about the historical Jesus, about the material culture of his time, about the way things worked in the synagogues of his age, and on the other hand, this new way of worshiping God. Not against the temple. The temple is the center. But the reading of the Torah, studying the law, communicating with the God through reading of scripture, we start to see it, and also the emphasis on the community as the center. And this is an idea that we can read also in the New Testament, that a single person is a temple. Each of us is a temple. And we can see also democratization of knowledge, because in the temple, only priests were allowed to enter into the temple and see all those sacred vessels. And here they are displayed to the entire community, and each person can read the Torah. Each person can give a ceremony in a synagogue. So this is, again, a new idea that emerged at that time, and we have here the material culture, the archaeological findings that reflect it or show it to us. If you have any questions, I'm willing to answer.
I'm the interview. Yeah, okay.